Citizens of the universe, it is time for episode 15 of the Neutral Lens podcast. Wow, it's already been 15, sometimes I feel like I've done a lot, sometimes I feel like I haven't done any at all, so this is about right, but anyway, another week is in the rearview mirror, so let's talk about some things. Before we begin, if you guys have any questions you want to answer, topics you want discussed at Neutral Lens Pod on all socials, I'll get to in a future episode. How do I stay motivated or avoid burnout? So having consistent motivation, I believe, just comes down to finding a balance between your passion and finding it to be work, if that makes sense. Like if you, especially in creative work, if you want to do something, that goes a long way in like having good motivation. Like if you actually want to accomplish a goal, but if you don't have many ideas, trying to force that sort of creativity, trying to force yourself to do something because you want it, but then you're like, I have to commit to this. I don't think it ever turns out well. Let's just say even beyond like creative work, if you're just going to the gym and you really don't want to go, I know I've talked about how you should force yourself to go to the gym anyway, but if you hate going to the gym or if you hate certain things and it's just really not enjoyable for you, like when I force myself to go to the gym when I don't want to go, it's more of a thing where I like going. Sometimes you just don't feel like it, but if you actively hate working out, you should change your exercises or do something else. You shouldn't force yourself to do something you don't like because it's a really good way to just completely burn out of it. It also comes down to like keeping your mind open to different perspectives, to different things that come up. Like if you can find a way to challenge yourself in different ways. Let's again go back to something more creative. Like if you're an artist, like you're drawing things, finding different things to draw, not always drawing in the same style and doing it in different ways. Maybe you approach it in a different perspective. Maybe you're good at drawing people, you start drawing animals, you start drawing like stars and space and things to just give you a different challenge and a new perspective, keeping your mind open to that rather than focusing on one specific thing that you like to do, because you run out of ideas, it feels a bit stale and then you don't really want to do it. Or even sometimes, you just don't really do, or you don't really want to do the things that you normally are doing. And it's okay to take a break from that, right? You don't ever want to force creativity. I don't think creativity comes from making yourself do things. I think it comes from two places. Number one is from the heart. If you just kind of do whatever you want to do and you have fun doing it and the ideas can flow freely. Number two is with a time constraint. People can come up with really creative ways to do things if they're forced to do it. So that is the other way. Although I must say it is much more stressful to do it on time constraint. So I wouldn't recommend if that's not like the only option. But okay, what if it's work? What if you are forced to show up for work every day and you're really demotivated to go to work? I mean, everyone, like, I don't think a lot of people want to go to work, but yeah, maybe for that purpose, because you're forced to show up, is not a thing you can just stop and walk away from for a couple of days, couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months. If it's something in like a hobby or some creative work where you can just kind of step aside for a bit, you can't do that with work. It's more of a mindset change. I think like approaching it a different way. If you can somewhat try and find some sort of entertainment or a game within your work, keeping track of some stats, like what did I do? How did I do it? And just seeing different trends and just seeing what you're doing, like some self-reflection, anything that will make work, at least on the surface, like a bit more interesting because you're tracking something. And it's mainly just like a brain stimulation thing, I think. Of just giving yourself something new to do, because yeah, everyone will get burned out eventually if you're doing something stale or doing something like the same thing over and over again. I assume factory workers, it gets very boring if you're just constantly doing the same thing over and over. But the people, the conversations that you have and those interactions and how those can always change, that keeps your mind stimulated. And so it could even be just talking to your coworkers. It could even just be talking to other people. Like I assume salespeople, you change up your pitch not only because you want to get better with it, but because it'd be kind of boring to say the same thing over and over, and you want to change it up. a little bit also just for your own sanity, you know? God, I say and write a lot. I also stutter a lot. Pretty sure you guys have noticed. Probably some of you are just really annoyed with it, but yeah. Anyway, don't force yourself if you don't have to. Just let the ideas flow. If it's something more creative, if it's something like work where you have to show up, try and find a new perspective or a new mindset to approach it. So you give yourself something interesting to think about or look at when it comes to work. Okay. Next topic I want to talk about. This is an interesting one. I say it a lot, but like, what is the it factor? Because a lot of people throw this term around, especially in sports or like entertainment, where you hear someone say that person has it, and it's extremely vague because no one knows what it is. Like intangibles of some sort. But I don't know. I feel like I have no idea what it is because it's different for every sport. It's different for music versus basketball versus chess versus Fortnite. I don't know. It's different for everything, but I feel like there should be a quantifiable way to measure it. It's just people haven't really found out because, again, it is so vague and is so random, it feels like. But I think a lot of people know that anything related to the it factor is some sort of intangible or some sort of mental attribute or trait. For example, Tom Brady, I talk about him a lot because he's a really good example of this. He is not someone who possesses insane physical attributes. His arm was never the strongest, although he had a really zippy throw towards the end of his career. He was never the fastest. He had a very non-athletic build. Everyone knows about his 5.28 40 time. But he has it, and you could tell from the start, from his time at Michigan and the way he was able to lead that team, all the way into the NFL. Like his it factor is his ability to elevate his teammates and everyone around him. That is something that you can't really scout. That's not something you can really measure in a traditional sense because it is very much on the mental side. His motivation, his ability to bounce back from losses, his mental toughness, his ability to take criticism, his work ethic, unparalleled. There's so many things like that where you kind of know about it. And it's leadership, of course. I don't know if I mentioned that. But there's so many things that you can't measure because mental attributes are not quantifiable in a sense. Because mental attributes are so unique that there's no way to say, hey, you can mentally bench press 225 pounds. That's not a thing. So it's a lot more relative, but you can see the results. Like Tom Brady led teams. This is the results of his leadership, the effectiveness of it. Like you can see that. So yeah, or songs. Like some songs are just insanely good, but there's nothing crazy to them. You break them down and there's some good stuff in there when it comes to chord progressions or the melody. Maybe you can break down the melody, see why it matches so well with everything else. But you break down some other songs and there's crazy creative stuff in there, but that simpler song just works. It just resonates with you more. Like there's no insane reason to it, but why? Why does that song just have it? Like how does it work? Like I really do think it is finding the most straightforward way or the most straightforward path to get the result that you want, whether it be in competition, like just having the right mental approach, or in music, just finding the right way to combine everything together. Sometimes it just works. Like there are times when I'm sure you've all had that where everything just works because you're confident, you're being true to yourself, you're not really letting anything get in the way of your flow state, and everything just works. If you're working on something creative, it turns out great. If you're in a competition, you're dominating. I think that your confidence in your approach is a huge part of that. It makes you resonate more if you're just genuine to yourself. If you are just making decisions, you're not hesitating, you're not giving yourself room to doubt, you end up making the right decisions. I mean, I really don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not anything of that sort. I'm not smart enough to figure it out either. But it's just an interesting thing to think about, like how to try and see if we can quantify mental. I don't know if there's a way. I feel like there should be. But again, mentality is such a unique thing to everyone that to quantify it could be doing it a disservice just because everyone operates so differently. But you can see the results. You can see like there's clearly cases of just it factor. And you can't really say exactly why someone is better. Like Magnus Carlsen in chess. He just is. He just finds the right way somehow. And everyone knows it. But yeah. Okay, let's go to the last topic. This is something that I really think that a lot of content, this is more so like content creator focused. I mean, I'm not really in a position to criticize, but I think that this is the biggest mistake that people make when their channel, especially when their channel is growing, is content oversaturation. And what I mean by this is you see when creators, like their channel's at like 50,000 and growing, and then all of a sudden they hit the algorithm and they start getting hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of views per video. And when they were maybe posting once every 2-3 days, you start seeing them post every day, maybe even twice a day. And they try and keep that going for as long as possible and really try and capitalize on the growth. But here's the thing, it's very similar to the burnout topic as well as the homework topic from a previous episode. You need a break. And I don't mean as the creator, I mean like maybe the creator also does need a break, because you can really get burned out from always making videos. Like sometimes you just want to live your life. But also the viewers need a break. Like when you're making a ton of content and trying to capitalize on a big boom, it's great for short-term growth. It's fantastic. But what happens after that? Because normally you see these big booms, they last for about 1.5 to 2 years at most. Usually it's somewhere between 8 and 15 months, I think. Now, I'm not some sort of YouTube expert. I have no idea, but this is just from what I've seen. When you go towards the end of that boom, let's just say you move from about 70,000 subscribers to about 900,000, and you are getting about 40, 50, 60,000 views per video beforehand, and then you start getting 400, 500, 600, 700,000 videos, maybe even 1 million views per video, then all of a sudden that period of relevancy, that period of growth dies out, and you're down to 20, 30,000. So, or just right around back to where you were before, like 40, 50, 60,000 views per video, but your channel is 10 times larger in terms of subscriber count. So that's the same as you getting 5,000 views per video when it was before. You're reaching 10 times the number of subscribers. Your video should be getting that many more views, but you're getting the same amount of views as you were before. And your channel basically dies at that point. And it's not really easy to recover from that, because you've also committed mentally to having a 1 million subscriber channel instead of a 100,000 subscriber channel. That's a very different approach. And yeah, you can pin it on the algorithm. You can pin it on social trends, what people are enjoying watching at the time. Maybe these people just haven't been able to keep up with it. You can do all of that. But like, I do think a large part of it has to do with content oversaturation, which is that at some point I'm going to stop wanting to spend every single breakfast watching your 20-minute daily upload. If you're providing people so much content to consume and that it eats up their entire life to want to catch up with you and what you're doing, they're going to get burned out of your content, and they're going to want to break from it, and they're going to want to go do something else. So if you upload less, people are going to want to see it more. They want to catch every bit of content that there is, because it's not enough for them. It's sort of like a high. It's sort of like an addiction. You want to watch those videos, and you end up watching back some videos, which gives you some, residual views coming in from your older videos that people like. For example, and this applies to screen. Like if you see characters in TV shows or movies and they don't get much screen time, and then everyone's clamoring for more screen time for them, it's the same thing where it just feels like you didn't get enough of what you wanted from them. Like if you were a professional wrestler, like professional wrestling fan in the early 2010s, The Shield, right? They had a huge run from 2012 to 2014, but it was so short, especially their babyface run, or like, I guess the good guy run, if you don't know what that is. That lasted about 3 months. And it just didn't feel like we got enough of it as fans. And that's why I feel like everyone loved that group so much, is because it didn't run its course on us. And there are a lot of characters who get a lot of screen time in movies and they get hated because it just feels like you have, I mean, part of it is because they're not great characters sometimes, but also just you've had enough of them and their shtick and what they're doing. But maybe they would be loved if they had half the screen time, because you wouldn't have been tired of all their stuff by then. And I think Technoblade is a really good example of this, where his schedule was extremely inconsistent. Rest in peace, Technoblade, by the way, gone too soon. But he made really good content, and it wasn't often that he posted, but every single time that he uploaded, people would go watch it because every single video of his was relevant, and you didn't feel like you had enough of his content. So there wasn't any video that you could just feel like you could skip, and it's like, oh, fine. Because there's not a lot coming. If he uploads every 2 to 3 weeks, you go 2 to 3 weeks without seeing a new Technoblade video, and then all of a sudden he drops one, you're gonna go watch it. But if there's someone who's uploading every single day, and you've got things in your life that you want to do, and you don't want it to revolve around watching this person's video every single day for 20 minutes, then you're gonna stop doing that at some point. And if a lot of people stop doing that, then that view count plummets. And but I mean, you shouldn't not upload. You have to upload, especially to take advantage of big channel moves. Like, continue on the Minecraft YouTuber trend, Dream, who is somewhat of a controversial figure, I think. But he did his whole Manhunt series. He got a ton of views on those, and he kind of stopped uploading them. For a long time, I mean, he had to deal with some drama, but he wanted to go in a different direction. He wanted to do some other stuff. And I mean, like, he has a large drop in view. He still gets millions of views per video, but it's not the 40, 50, 60 million that he used to get. You could also say that maybe his was more of a case of people watch him for one thing, which is manhunts, and that kind of content non-variety is its own problem. But yeah, that's not this topic. Like, just don't get overexcited if there's this big channel boom, is basically what I'm trying to say. Is it just feels like a lot of people both burn themselves out and burn their audience out with how much they're trying to capitalize on trends, with how much they're trying to capitalize on a big growth period for the channel. And instead, they should focus on long-term viewer retention instead of milking as much as they can out of the 6 months or whatever. Because, I mean, yes, YouTube is very volatile. Maybe you'd only have 6 months, and all of a sudden the channel will die no matter what you do. But yeah, that's just my advice from a very non-qualified person. All right, that will do it for episode 15, I think. Thank you all for listening as always, and I will see you next week.